Disclaimer, Rigid Nick's Geeking acknowledges that we do not own the rights to the clips contained in this video. However, these clips are being used for the purposes of criticism, comment, review, teaching, and parody. Therefore, their use falls under fair use per Section 107 of the Copyright Act. Please do not flag this video. Thank you. Welcome to Rigid Nick's Geeking. If you haven't watched the previous video in this series, the one about the Fellowship of the Ring, then I recommend you do that first. The link can be found in the comments, description, and the cards. And if geeky things like Lord of the Rings, A Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones, and Star Wars are your kind of thing, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below. Thank you. As usual, you're lying about the length of the video. You're advertising an 8-minute and 17-second video as being 7 minutes or less. So, here's the first sin. Wait, you know what I just realized? These videos are from a time before Jeremy created the opening credits recurring sin. Proof that he created it just to pad the runtime for later videos. And that's not to mention that the Birdman consistently proves that Jeremy and his fans are disingenuous about removing sins for short opening credits.
Previously on Lord of the Rings.
What's wrong with this? Not only is something like previously in or previously on a perfectly reasonable thing for a movie to do, but you're sinning this artistic choice before you even know that it's more than just that. It's not only reminding us of what happened in Fellowship of the Ring, but it goes on to show a perspective of the story that we did not have in the previous movie. That's 2 reasons why this sin is bogus, but I'll be generous and only sin you once. We all know I'm going to find more problems with your video than you found with the movie, especially if more non-problems like this get labeled as problems. Also, each of these movies in this trilogy have a prologue. Why is that a sin for this one?
Earth rules say that a falling wizard can catch up to his falling sword and a falling Balrog even when those things have a 20-second head start.
So, it's become kind of a running gag outside your fandom that you have absolutely no idea how any kind of science actually works. Remember the "there's no gravity in space" bit, people. Alright, so here you're demonstrating ignorance of a concept called terminal velocity. The Balrog is much larger than Gandalf, and therefore has higher drag. Both the Balrog and the sword are tumbling, and therefore they are both incapable of reaching their respective terminal velocities. Gandalf, however, is in a controlled fall and actively trying to fall faster. Have you seriously never seen people skydive? I know for a fact that you have, because you've absolutely sinned movies featuring that act. When people are lying flat with their arms and legs out, they fall slower than someone who's vertical, right? Like, how is your ignorance of common, basic knowledge a sin of this movie? How?
He hates them.
I know Gollum's not exactly smart, but why would he talk so loudly to himself if he's trying to actually sneak up on the hobbits and surprise them?
A sin of a character is not a sin of the movie.
Sam is addicted to golems.
First of all, Gollum is a proper noun, and therefore it should be capitalized. And again, a sin of a character is not a sin of the movie. And this isn't even a sin of Sam, seeing as that Gollum literally just tried to kill them. Like, you know Gollum tried to eat Bilbo. You know he's the one who gave Sauron clues on how to find the ring. You literally just watched him attack them. How are you defending Gollum? How is a character's behavior within a film a problem of the film?
The union of the 2 towers.
Roll credits. Oh, wait.
Hey, the roll credits gag. Per usual, I will not remove a sin, but I will point out that it is usually the only time I laugh during a CinemaSins video. I don't know why everybody else sins this gag. It's actually a good joke. That being said, how is a movie saying its title within itself a sin of the movie itself? It makes a lot of sense for the title to be something that's literally mentioned within the film, doesn't it?
Looks like meat's back on the menu, boys!
Looks like meat is back on the menu for about 10 orcs. The other ones in the background appear to be happy with their maggoty bread.
More like the other ones in the background know to wait their turn, or are at least unwilling to risk their own lives fighting another orc for a taste of cannibalism.
No one's gonna save you now.
There is no way that one of the riders of Rohan was able to throw his spear from this distance to kill a crouching orc.
Except the movie is literally showing you that they were not only capable of it, but they did, in fact, do it. They literally did it. You're literally showing them do it. And nothing about their appearance 1 second later indicates that they were too far away.
Make it look like the character died when 90% of the audience knows he didn't die cliché.
But what about, the books don't matter? What about the fact that cliffhangers do, in fact, exist in the source material? Boromir's death? Actually the first chapter of The Two Towers, not the end of The Fellowship of the Ring. Do Frodo and Sam survive the destruction of the ring? Cliffhanger. Oh, and look! There's even one related to Pippin. Does Pippin survive the Battle of the Black Gate? Cliffhanger! Nothing wrong with a bit of creative storytelling. It's not even a cliche, is it? Tons of media based on books deviate from these things. Game of Thrones is a big, fairly recent example, and it's not as if most movies even have these kinds of cliffhangers. Death fake-outs would be out of place in so many movies. And was 90% of the audience truly aware of these stories going in? I'll place my bets on no.
Sun rises. Blood has been spilled this night.
Is Legolas serious? So every time blood spills, a red sun rises? So there should be a red sun for like at least half the trilogy, right?
How many sunrises do we see in this trilogy? And who's to say that half or more of the sunrises in the story are not red? How is your irrelevant question a sin of this movie? And spoiler alert, we will be coming back to this one.
I would cut off your head, dwarf, if it stood but a little higher from the ground.
You would die before your stroke fell.
I know we need to establish that Legolas has become a blood brother to Gimli, but this is way out of line for his character, and stupid. I mean, is this Legolas Skywalker?
Wow. I'm so glad you pointed this out here. Since you opened up the door to the fact that the books actually do matter here, we have Lord of the Rings, in The Two Towers, Chapter 2, The Riders of Rohan. In this copy, starting on page 432, he, being Éomer, he turned a cold glance suddenly upon Legolas and Gimli. "Why do you not speak, silent ones?" he demanded. Gimli rose and planted his feet firmly apart. His hand gripped the handle of his axe, and his dark eyes flashed. "Give me your name, horsemaster, and I will give you mine, and more besides," he said. "As for that," said the rider, staring down at the dwarf, "the stranger should declare himself first. Yet I am named Éomer, son of Éomund, and am called the third marshal of the Riddermark. Then, Éomer, son of Éomund, third marshal of the Riddermark, let Gimli the dwarf, Gloin's son, warn you against foolish words. You speak evil of that which is far beyond the reach of your thought, and only little wit can excuse you." This is in regards to Galadriel in Lothlorien. Éomer's eyes blazed, and the men of Rohan murmured angrily and closed in, advancing their spears. "I would cut off your head, beard and all, master dwarf, if it stood but a little higher from the ground," said Éomer. "Recognize that?" "He stands not alone," said Legolas, bending his bow and fitting an arrow with hands that moved quicker than sight. "You would die before your stroke fell." Does that sound familiar? I don't know. Do you think Tolkien thinks it was out of character for Legolas to do that? Also, this was a missed opportunity for your "that's racist" bit.
There are no spies.
The first clue should have been when we hailed you while your backs were turned and we had no reason to give away our position.
I don't know. This isn't a really good point given Éomer and company were literally just banished from their home from an enemy hiding in plain sight. Also, yes, it could be the first clue, but do you come to such important conclusions with only the first clue?
We left none alive.
Instead of asking the writers if they remember killing people as memorable as hobbits, or if they even remember stacking two small, childlike creatures who don't look one bit like orcs on the death pile, Eomer chooses the all I remember is that everybody died story to keep us in quote-unquote suspense.
Excuse me? Instead of asking the writers if they remember killing people as memorable as hobbits, or if they even remember stacking two small childlike creatures? This is a straight-up lie. Aragorn literally uses the word children while describing them.
The Uruks are destroyed. We slaughtered them during the night.
But there were 2 hobbits. Did you see 2 hobbits with them?
They would be small. Only children to your eyes.
See? Did you catch that? Gimli and Aragorn literally said both of the things that Jeremy says nobody said. Here, let me play it for you again.
The Uruks are destroyed. We slaughtered them during the night.
But there were 2 hobbits. Did you see 2 hobbits with them?
They would be small. Only children to your eyes.
That is said literally right before where you begin your clip. How disingenuous. The scene also clearly shows that everyone interprets "we left none alive" as "sorry, they're dead." Again, you edited around the clarification and confirmation of this. Again, let me show you what Jeremy intentionally excludes.
The Uruks are destroyed. We slaughtered them during the night.
But there were 2 hobbits. Did you see 2 hobbits with them?
They would be small. Only children to your eyes.
We left none alive. We piled the carcasses and burned them.
Dead.
I'm sorry.
I don't know about you, but to me it looks like there's no actual quote-unquote suspense here. And lastly, for this clip, stop slurping on the microphone. It's disgusting.
Death pile. Eomer chooses pile. Eomer. In 5 seconds, Gimli finds a hobbit belt in an orc stack.
Here's another CinemaSins cliche. They fundamentally do not understand that movies edit around the passage of time. Notice that Gimli was still on the back of the white horse not just the very second before he's shown sifting through the burn pile, but the very frame beforehand. If this hadn't been edited for the sake of cutting the passage of time, then Gimli's teleportation would be much more impressive than his I Spy skills.
I agree that Aragorn is this badass ranger dude, but the Hobbit's tracks should have long been trampled over by horses and men dragging dead orcs to the flaming death mound.
And the ground has, in fact, clearly been trodden over. Aragorn is just that good, man. Like, look at that. The ground is trodden. He pulls the rope up out of the ground like it's covered in grass and stuff. It's embedded in the ground. You literally show proof of the thing you're saying there is no proof of. This isn't being nitpicky. This is being stupid.
First off, the Nazgul really need to stop shrieking and giving away their position. Secondly, you tracked Frodo to the marshes and once again can't locate the ring mere feet in front of you.
Okay, first of all, who says the Nazgul care about giving away their position? Wouldn't this continual dismissal of this advice imply that they do not actually care? Also, their shrieks are clearly part of their tactics, as demonstrated both later in this movie and in Return of the King, but again, demonstrated right here on the screen, it immediately has a physical effect on Frodo. Secondly, why are you assuming that this Nazgul is here because he tracked Frodo here? I've literally always assumed that he's just out on patrol or merely on his way back to Mordor from wherever he was. He only circles around like that because he happens to sense the ring as he goes by. Nothing explicitly says that he's tracked them there, so why just draw that conclusion?
Also, a closed fist is enough to quiet a powerful magical evil ring.
Notice how Frodo's reaction to the Nazgul's presence and his shrieks is to reach for the ring and try to put it on. See how they could be giving away their position on purpose? No, you just wanted to point out the hand-holding.
This forest is old.
How old is it?
Very old.
Okay, that one made me chuckle. But how is it a sin of the movie?
How the hell does this actually work? How did they not see them?
You showed the clips of them, so were you just not paying attention? Let's actually look at the Haradrim that were shown, because if you pay particular attention to their faces, you will see that they are looking up the entire time. They're looking at where the tumbling rocks are, where it started, not where the hobbits currently are. Remember, hobbits are like 2 to 3 feet tall, and these ones are wearing magical cloaks. Do you not see how it actually looks like an actual rock?
Wow, the flag waited until the perfect moment to break her spirit.
You got me again. I admit, I chuckled again, but again, how is this a sin of the movie?
Gandalf used a Jedi mind trick of some sort to make this guy forget that he was a wizard and that the walking stick was a magical staff.
You clearly show the guy making a face that obviously indicates that he thinks that excuse is bogus. Look at that face. But if we look at the source material, then Gamling knew that this was BS and he wanted Gandalf to help Theoden. Even in the movie, it's clear that Gamling thinks that this rule is BS. Just listen to him explain it, hear the resentment in mentioning Wormtongue's name.
I allow you before Theoden King so armed, Gandalf Greyhim. By order of Grima Wormtongue. Your staff.
Oh. You would not part an old man from his walking stick.
And then even if you ignore that and accept this Jedi mind trick explanation, then what's the problem with that? Gandalf is a wizard. We have seen him perform magic already. How is more magic a sin of a fantasy movie?
Clearly walks into the hall with his staff out in the open, and it's not entirely hidden as he continues to walk towards the king, but nonetheless it's a total surprise to Grima when Gandalf exposes the staff to show he means business.
Notice that you're excluding the footage of Gandalf and the rest walking through the hall. Gandalf has clearly lowered the staff, and Wormtongue is clearly focused on maintaining his control of Theoden. Also, here's another lesson in actually paying attention to what you're watching, and oddly enough, it's about watching someone's eyes again. Wormtongue never looks down. His eyes are either on Theoden's face or Gandalf's face. They go nowhere else.
The courtesy of your hall is somewhat lessened of late, Theoden King. He's not welcome. Welcome you, Gandalf Stormcrow. A just question, my liege. Late is the hour in which this conjurer chooses to appear by naming ill news as an ill guest. Be silent. I have not passed so far in death to bandy crooked words with a witless worm. Stop. I told you to take the wizard. Stop!
Is the staff the sole source of Gandalf's power? Didn't he lose the staff and fall with the Balrog for days and days and fight that demon with a sword?
Ah, a famous Jeremy Gishgallop. Let's answer your questions one at a time. Is the staff the sole source of Gandalf's power? No. But it's like a conduit. Didn't he lose the staff, fall with the Balrog, and fight with a sword? Yes. Oh, there wasn't a point to any of that? Alright, here's a sin then.
Fall would kill some people and break bones in pretty much anyone except Grima Wormtongue.
Oh, I didn't realize you were a medical expert. Well, it very obviously hurts Wormtongue. You just decided to edit that out.
I've only ever served you, my lord.
Your liege.
Was he from Gondor?
No, from the north. One of the Dunedain Rangers, I thought he was. His cloth was poor. Enough blood has been spilled on his account.
I agree with the merciful Aragorn here. You shouldn't just go around killing dudes, but why should he be let go?
I mean, I actually agree. I wouldn't have let him go free either, but he apparently wasn't always really evil, and he was some higher up in Rohan society to have gotten to that position in the first place, so I understand Theoden's mercy. He was really hoping that Wormtongue wouldn't just immediately prove Gandalf 100% correct, but it happens.
Also, they didn't have to give him a f***ing horse, did they?
Again, I agree, but that's, their culture. Also, it's basically just the same sin twice in a row, so I'm not going to take another sin off.
You have 2,000 good men riding north as we speak.
Does this look like 2,000 men? Where did Aragorn learn to count?
Wow, Jeremy is actually on a roll.
Last I looked, Theoden, not Aragorn, was king of Rohan.
Yeah, well, last I looked, Theoden got his f***ing kingly mind all invaded by the evil sorcerer and shit, so maybe shut your pie hole and let someone who hasn't f***ed up lately do the planning.
Wow, Jeremy is on fire here. But listen, I get it. Theoden is trying to prevent all these non-Rohan guys from thinking that they're running the shots here. And we all know that everyone in a position of power like King has a bit of an ego. And Aragorn isn't actually coming from the same level as King yet. But yeah, Jeremy actually kind of has a point here. But not enough of one to remove a sin, I don't think.
Aw, she thinks she's Mulan.
As Jay would say, this movie, that movie.
It's a dangerous road to take.
Is there a place in all of Middle-earth except maybe the Shire that isn't dangerous when you walk through it?
If you're not a bad guy, then Rivendell and Lothlorien would also be safe places to stroll. When they're not actively at war, places like Ithilien and Gondor wouldn't be dangerous per se. But yeah, the Shire is the safest place in all of Middle-earth, and that's kind of part of the point. So what's your point?
Andy Serkis isn't getting nominated for an Oscar in this scene.
This may be the first actual sin I've ever seen.
I realize marching to Mordor must be brutally boring, but none of these soldiers looks up to see the not really even hiding hobbits.
Another CinemaSins cliche regarding Lord of the Rings. Jeremy doesn't understand how small hobbits are. Or that being sneaky and hiding are basically their entire thing. That's explained multiple times. It's literally why Bilbo is chosen to be the burglar in The Hobbit. Also, they're really far away. Also, they're wearing magic cloaks. Come on, man!
Most useless love triangle in the history of plot.
Oh, you're lucky you recorded this video before The Hobbit came out. Superlatives aside, I basically agree. I won't remove a sin, but I also won't add one.
Pretty sure Legolas can shoot arrows faster than this, but I guess we need more time to get acquainted with the wargs.
What? Is the implication that Legolas should have taken out more of the enemy in that short period of time? It would help you to make a point if you were to actually make a point.
You know, I believe a lot of things in these movies. Magic, talking trees, immortality, evil spirits. But in no way do I believe Legolas got on this horse in the manner depicted.
Yes, that is the worst CGI in this movie, but I'm not going to let you get away with lying. You objectively have not been believing basically any of the magic. Otherwise, there would be fewer sins in both this video and the Fellowship of the Ring video. And you've been questioning basically every aspect of the evil spirit stuff that we've been presented with, including everything about the Nazgul, so I'm not going to let that pass either.
Who the f*** is that? That is not Gimli.
You're right, that's not Gimli. Good thing nobody except you is saying that it's supposed to be. Gimli is still clearly on the same horse as Legolas. He's clearly sitting right behind Legolas. That is the guy riding behind them on his own separate horse. You can see that he is holding reins. Gimli would not be holding the reins. You can see Legolas holding the reins.
Even in Middle-earth, horrible creatures bent on death would rather bark at you than try and kill you first.
Even in this realistic fantasy world, deadly creatures growl before attacking, and that's a sin. Insert eye roll.
For the third time in the series, and the second time in this movie, yet another character supposedly dies when we know full well he doesn't.
First of all, what do you mean the third time? Are you referring to the Gandalf and Saruman fight in Fellowship of the Ring? Or do you mean the whole Gandalf falling in Moria and then coming back as Gandalf the White thing? Because he did die. I'm really not sure which one from Fellowship of the Ring you are referring to, but how is a problem with Fellowship of the Ring a problem with the Two Towers anyway? Also, do you remember what we said last time about this junk sin? Here's an example of the movie deviating from the source material. I was personally super confused watching this in the theaters, despite having read the book. We can assume that he survives this, and we would be correct in doing so, but that doesn't mean that we know, nor does it take away from the storytelling aspect of this.
Where is he?
He fell.
You had no chance anyway, Cliché.
Well, Jeremy got another laugh out of me, but I fail to see how this is either a cliché or a sin of the movie, so...
Helm's Deep has one weakness.
Helm's Deep was built with the same flaw as the Death Star.
Gee, get it? This geeky movie has a similar plot point as this other geeky movie. Do you get it? Do you get it?
Also, Lord of the Rings came first, so the Death Star was built with a similar weakness as Helm's Deep. Grammar matters.
Tens of thousands.
But, my lord, there is no such force.
This is a great reveal for the audience, but you can't seriously be expecting me to believe that Wormtongue either lives in this tower or comes here every morning for work and has no idea there are tens of thousands of soldiers outside.
Who says that Wormtongue does either of those things? Why is your assumption that Wormtongue commuted between Orthanc and Edoras? Or why assume that this isn't his first time back since leaving Edoras, and that the army was not in formation when he arrived earlier? Oh, guess what? If you used the extended editions, you would see that, in fact, when Wormtongue arrived earlier, the army was not in formation. Look at that. Also, we have no idea how long he's been inside Orthanc or how long it's been since he was outside Orthanc or anything like that. The only two things you come up with are not the only two options, but they both also assume a lot, including the passage of time. I really do not understand why that thing is so hard for you. The passage of time, why do you not get it?
He no longer cares for growing things.
Did this movie just turn into Fern Gully?
Or did Fern Gully hold roots in Lord of the Rings? You know, since Lord of the Rings came first, things like the chronological release of IP in the real world are examples of why the books do matter. It's just another example of you not understanding the passage of time.
Grieve you then, to learn that he is dead.
How does word travel fast enough for Faramir to know that Boromir died alone in the forest, but not fast enough for that message to also contain the words, by the way, don't kill or capture the two ring-bearing hobbits that were friends of your dead brother Boromir?
Reasons why the extended editions matter. Number 413. Word traveling is objectively not what happened here. And even if it was, then why would it contain that information? Also, are you forgetting that the Fellowship's mission is a complete secret? Why would it mention ring-bearing hobbits? One of the first things Frodo says to Faramir is that they are bound to a mission of secrecy.
To enter the Forbidden Pool bears the penalty of death.
The Forbidden Pool? Are you making this up as you go along?
This chapter in the book is literally called The Forbidden Pool, so you can't seriously be asking that. The secrecy of this hideout was so important that anyone unbidden was to be killed. That's just being faithful to the source material. That being said, it would appear that many people in the audience would answer this question with a yes and simply not be bothered with that fact. So where is the sin?
Discount Kristen Stewart.
Woof, dude. Sweet burn on that child, supposedly full-grown man, Jeremy. Yikes.
Well, that's a foul.
I honestly just don't get this one. It reminds me of that old guy from 8 Crazy Nights.
Technical foul.
tactical foul.
Wait, didn't we just see them do this already? I mean, I know Aragorn said hold after the old dude accidentally shot his arrow, but does hold mean don't fire? Or does it mean everyone put your bows down completely so that I need to give you an entirely separate command in order for you to raise them again?
Aragorn is commanding the elves. The old man was part of the Rohirrim, who are being led by Theoden. Also, you're clearly showing people not having to re-notch their arrows, that they simply went lax on the string. You gotta remember that most of these guys are completely untrained. Does that clear it up? I hope so, because you tried to Gish Gallop again, and I just don't want to deal with it.
He's just now telling them this.
No, he's reminding the ones around him of this.
That guy must be half elf, half Wilhelm.
Ooh, look, I recognize a movie Easter egg. Ooh, look at me.
The Wilhelm scream is in all of these movies. Everything I'm finding online says it happens 3 times, but only in 2 of the movies. But I swear I hear it in the back of the screams while Sauron is mowing people down in the prologue of Fellowship of the Ring.
The Ents take forever to do anything. Why? Because the story's not ready for them yet, but it doesn't want you being all surprised when they show up later.
First, Jeremy sins characters for acting out of character even when it's not true. Now, Jeremy is sinning characters for acting in character. You literally can't win with this guy. Also, does that feel like Jeremy's just padding the sin count because he hasn't sinned the Ents yet to anybody else?
Taking a long time to say.
Okay, so speak English then. All the Ents nodded when you made that "you aren't orcs" proclamation, so all of you understood that.
While I agree, Treebeard would say,
Now don't be hasty.
there are rules, and one of those rules is that an Ent moot can only be for Ents and in Entish. Also, maybe not all the other Ents actually understand English. Also, if we want to get super technical, they're not actually speaking English. They're speaking Westron, you see, in the books.
You had one job, Legolas. One job.
Come on, man. He hit the Uruk multiple times.
No one could possibly fall for the Aragorn might be dead routine at this point, but the movie keeps wasting time on it.
But the he might be dead routine isn't even what's happening here. The danger that he's in is the fact that he's an incapacitated guy who is no longer protected by the wall, and the Uruks are coming through the breach. I'm pretty sure it shows him moving. I'm pretty sure it's obvious that he's not actually dead.
How does Treebird not know this? Don't the trees talk to each other? Wouldn't the Ents have gotten word that this was happening?
Things like this are why I resent changes from the books. In the movie, however, we have plenty of context clues as to Treebeard's ignorance. He tells them about how he's basically had a falling out with Saruman, meaning he hasn't been around Orthanc in a while. Also, doesn't he talk about how there are getting to be too few Ents? Yes, he does.
Well, here we are at Helm's Deep the next morning. Where's that red sun that signals the blood spilling that Legolas was talking about?
We're not actually being shown the sunrise, so how can you sin the movie for not having a red one? Also, did you forget what Theoden said?
Fell deeds awake.
Now for wrath, now for ruin, and the Red Dawn!
This asshole probably still can't detect the ring.
And this sarcastic comment is a sin of the movie how?
Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
You just had to stick that meme in there somehow. This and these post-credits scenes, gags that they do, that's how they used to include jokes that are now being used as multiple sins to pad the runtime for modern videos. Most of the post-credit scenes are just this movie, that movie jokes, too. Here's some hospital movie reference that I don't understand.
Emma, Mr. Murphy is waiting.
Here is a Star Wars reference that I hope we all understand.
I can't. It's too big.
Size matters not. Look at me. Judge me by my size, do
I
you?
think it goes on for too long. It doesn't even make any jokes.
And where you should not.
It's the castle of the Wicked Witch.
Ha, okay, this one's pretty funny.
Oh, I hate to think of her in there. We've got to get her out.
Don't cry now.
Who's them? Who's them?
Alright, what is this going to reference?
The power of Christ!
Okay, I get this one, but it's not funny.
I'll tell you this, in any fight, it's the guy
Al
who's willing to
Pacino
die who's gonna
playing
win
a
that
sports coach?
And I know if I'm gonna
I
be
get that
liked,
out of the context, but I actually
because I'm
don't know
still
what the
willing
reference
to fight
is.
and die for that itch.
Ah, yes. A Chariots of Fire reference. How cliche. As with the Fellowship of the Ring, I'm surprised you didn't do any sin removals for things like the music, or work dumb sins into the list for meme scenes. No, you delegated that to those end credit things. I guess these videos are simply so old that they're from a different era of CinemaSins, but you're still overtly disingenuous throughout this video. So the final tally is 72, and the sentence is, hey, at least you did better than last time. And you actually had better criticisms this time too. In conclusion, again, the fact that I found more problems with your video than you found with the actual movie is pretty indicative of the quality of your criticisms. I understand that it's supposed to be funny, but that doesn't mean you have to sacrifice accuracy, or be straight up disingenuous. I'm sure it's funnier for non-fans than it is for fans, but from my perspective, it's simply annoying that you lie so much. Well, anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think of my response down in the comments. Did I miss any points? Did I make any mistakes myself? Please let me know. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to hit the bell icon to receive notifications. My next video will be a top 10 extended scenes video for The Two Towers, so you won't want to miss that. And yes, I will be getting back to Rings of Power, and yes, I will eventually get to House of the Dragon. Yes, I will someday soon turn my Anomaly Inc. script into a video, and yes, Tolkien lore video reviews will also come up after that. I'll see you down in the comments. Rich and Geeking, signing off.